Hello everyone, I hope you learned something from the other video that I made on negative production externalities. So today, obviously, in this video, we're going to talk about something else. But before we talk about that something else, let's do some quick recap about the negative production externalities. I think there are two things everybody should bear in mind when it comes to learning market failure externalities. Okay, so first of all, how should we actually see the diagram? Okay, market failure can be caused by different reasons, and in the case that we learned in the other video, it was caused by some kind of production. Okay, when some firms they make some kind of production, and then the process is causing something unpleasant to the society, right? And that's why we see market failure at the end. So when that is the case, okay, this cause of market failure is done by production. And we know that if something there is something to do with production, then in the diagram there must be something off with the supply side. So supply side from here, okay? And in other words, you would see if there's something wrong with consumption in your diagram, there should be like some impact to the demand side, like right here. Okay, all right. So in other words, if something is caused by production, then you would focus on the supply side. If something is caused by like consumption and therefore your market failure, then you would look at the demand side. Okay, so now let's get into our topic of today. So basically, we're trying to talk about another externalities, but this time it's still negative, but more from the consumption. Okay, more from the consumption. So what does it mean here? Here you should be able to see a few examples, like very quick examples. When someone is consuming something, that's something. Okay, sometimes you can call that demerit goods. So just a quick thing right here. Sometimes when you get to the exam, you would find that the exam, in the exam paper, they wouldn't give you the words directly, like negative consumption externalities. Rather, they would ask you to analyze demerit goods. So when you see that, it means you need to immediately translate demerit goods back into negative consumption externalities. Okay, all right. So either way, you would analyze it like this. Okay, all right. So when we look at some quick examples, like let's say alcohol, drugs, or junk food. Okay, so you do see when people that are consuming these goods, there must be some kind of like negative consequences, not to yourself only, but also to the entire society, right? So alcohol, when people that drink it, but at the end, it might increase the chances of having violence, right? In the society, right? When people they are intoxicated, drugs, something similar might happen. Junk food, when you do so, it might increase the burden to our healthcare system, right? Because you get sick and then you always have to go see doctor, but then it's not necessary. Yeah, but you just keep eating. You see what I mean? So that is pretty much what we're gonna focus on today, for negative consumption externalities. So how should we start our analysis? For all these here, okay, for all these externalities here, there's always one key starting point to go with. So what is that one key starting point to go with? So we always want to talk about this ignorance. So what is an ignorance right here? Okay, ignorance is basically giving us an idea. People, they ignore something bad is going to happen to the society, and that's why they keep doing it. Okay, all right. From this case right here, do we see the kind of ignorance? Yes, we do. But then why people they would have this kind of ignorance? And that is how we should, like process our analysis. Okay? Why they would have this kind of ignorance, right? Obviously, there must be something so attractive about having junk food, let's say. Okay? But from where on the diagram we can see this attractiveness, we can actually find it. Okay, so here is one big trick, okay, that everybody can use, to understand the diagram even better. So we're gonna focus on the price axis. Okay, price it can be something very vague. Okay, so it can be all kinds of monetary value. But when we are looking at this diagram here, what kind of monetary value should we imagine, okay, in order to understand, okay, these price labels? That would be very important. So how about this? We should treat this price as a kind of like value to different people. Okay, all right. So let's try to do it like this and see what will happen. And based on the last video, you know what the PM and POP is. Okay, PM is basically when you look at people's individual perspective, the price that they would have for that good, and then POP is basically from the society's perspective, what they see, okay, what they would get for the price of that good, okay. But if you turn this price into value, okay, so now it will become, oh, okay, so when it comes to the individual perspective, what would be the value of junk food to them? And when it comes to the society's perspective, what would be the value of junk food to the society? And from the diagram, you can see immediately what is going on. So obviously, from the individual perspective, people, they see a bigger value when they're consuming the junk food or the so-called demerit goods. And that's why this ignorance is basically based on how people perceive the value of the demerit goods, right? So value, okay, of demerit goods. So basically, they would see a higher value because PM is bigger than P-opt, okay? And because of this higher value, so obviously when you go back to, the private benefit and the social benefit, okay, all right? Some similar idea. Then you would see that, okay? The reason why the private benefit is on the right compared to the social benefit, because if it is on the right, obviously we know that that line is having like a higher value, right? Okay, so that value is showing us, is justifying why MPB is bigger than MSB. And so when we go back to the diagram, it is basically showing us that this gap, okay, this shift, the gap between this shift, the vertical distance, that would be basically caused by the externality itself, right? Because, once again, externality is, the consequences, in this case, the negative consequences when people, they consume something, right? Okay, and the consequence would be to the society. So now we are able to see that when our private benefit is bigger than what the society would expect, okay, it's because of something. It's because of the externalities, and obviously we ignore this externality completely because to us it's so attractive to have more, this kind of good. Okay, all right. So that is pretty much why we are consuming a little more, and that is being justified by the quantity labels as well. So what now? When you look at the quantity labels, you can already see that from the individual perspective, the quantity would be QM. Okay, but from the society's perspective, it's just QOpt. So which one is bigger? Well, I think you know the answer. So QOpt obviously has a smaller number compared to QM, and which all these steps right here, when you put them together, okay? So I just want you to pause the video and digest a little bit, okay? Just pause the video for now and digest a little bit and see if you can put all these key points together, okay? Right, and so now you should be able to understand why the diagram would look like this, all right? Well, but then at the end, we still want to find out what's so bad, okay, about the society now when this is the case, when people, they ignore the bad consequences when they consume demerit goods. So obviously, just like the usual cases that we would do, we would try to find out the dead weight loss. But do we see the dead weight loss? Yeah, do we see it? So now, based on what you learned from the last video, okay, there is a way to look at the dead weight loss, and QM obviously is where people they are, like trading. Okay, the reality is basically QM. So we do want to find out at QM, what does the society think? Okay, what does the society think at QM, which is the reality when people they are trading at the moment. Okay, so and do you remember how we should see the society's perspective? What would be the curves that we should look at? There you go. So at QM, we would look at the two curves to see what's going on with the society. So we would look at MSB, and we would also look at MSC. Okay, all right. So now let's get to it. At QM, which is here, you would find where's the MSB at QM? It's quite easy to find out, right? So MSB, do you see the line? Yeah, MSB. Here, this is where MSB is at QM. But where's MSC? Where's MSC, the curve? Where is it? Well, MSC, the curve is right here. And so we are able to find out at this curve, at QM, MSC would be here. All right. So in other words, what happened to the two, elements right here? Which one is bigger? All right. And what does it mean? So obviously, MSC is at a higher position compared to MSB. And that's why we are able to come up with the idea MSC is bigger than MSB. And I believe we learned this already. So the meaning of this, okay, it's just basically saying that we should have, or you could say people should have consumed less in the society. Okay, all right, yeah. And from there, this green line here, yeah, so the green line between MSC and MSB at QM, that is pretty much the market failure, or you could say the deadweight loss that we can discover, okay, at this point. But what if we reduce the quantity a little bit? Let's say we reduce the quantity by a little bit, not at QM now. Let's say the quantity now is a little lower compared to QM, like here. What's going to happen? Well, as you can see, even if you're at a lower quantity, like here, okay, the MSC is still bigger than MSB. So, the idea is giving us something. It means that we need to keep reducing the consumption, or in this case, because even at a lower quantity like this, we can still find a deadweight loss, like here. If you use this idea over and over again, you would be able to find out the total area of the entire deadweight loss, which means, even at a lower quantity like this, you could still find, a deadweight loss. Or even here, you could still find a deadweight loss until MSC is actually equal to MSB, which is here. So in other words, this entire triangle here, okay, it will become the total area of the deadweight loss, which is, the inefficiency itself. So in other words, now you are able to find out, okay, this deadweight loss is showing us how inefficient the society is, and this triangle, okay, is showing us inefficiency. Okay, but what kind of inefficiency it is, right? So I think it's quite obvious, because we are able to see that now people that are consuming more than what the society would expect. So there you go, that would be over allocation of resources. Okay, and if I put a star right here, then the over allocation of resources will be between QM and QOpt. All right, so that is pretty much what we are trying to do in this case, and this is how we analyze this entire diagram. Hopefully this video helps you a little bit to understand what's going on with the negative consumption externalities, very similar to how we understand negative production externalities. So if you still see more questions, feel free to put some comments in the comment section below, and I think that's it for now. I'll see you guys later.